is Elysabeth Alfano, your host of The Dinner Party. When celebs can't make the filming of my live roundtable TV talk show, I take the dinner party to them. Hydrating in style over Voss water, and with the help of my friends at Stobe Cookware and Wants Us Tequila, actors Curtis Armstrong and Joel Murray join me on the dinner party at the Sunset Marquee. So we're here to eat and drink. Please dig in. Don't be shy.
Doing that, yeah.
I want to tell you I have a specialty for each of you. So I've stumbled upon this wonderful tequila company, Wants Us, and I just love them. And I went to their site and I see that they make tequila old fashions. So I thought in honor of Mad Men, I would bring out a little tequila old fashioned for Joel. So cheers to that, and
Here
cheers to
you go.
being here, Joel. In honor of your decades of nerdiness, I thought I would bring out some flaming hot Cheetos, food of nerds.
I didn't even make the connection that they are the food of nerds. They're wonderful.
You also have Pringles on your plate. So Pringles, Twinkies, Cheese Whiz. I
Oh my
couldn't find
God.
Cheese Whiz.
Well, that's all right. We can do without the cheese whiz, but the Pringles are nice.
I thought the Cheetos were for me, and I never know which is my Cheeto plate. You know,
Works
when
on
you
the
go to
left,
a
I
fancy dinner, I never know if it's to the left or the right. But
Reach
I'm-
to the right for your
yeah,
Cheetos.
I was the voice of Chester the Cheetah for Cheetos. I know you've done a lot of voice work over the years.
Yes.
But that was, Chester bought my first house, basically. But I was a righteous kitty in the heart of Hip City for 11 years. And,
Oh my gosh.
They took that gig away from me, I think, because I was making more than the ad exec. After a while, he realized that I was working for about a half an hour and making what he was making. So I've kind of boycotted him ever since then. Yeah. Anyway.
I thought maybe it was your love of tequila old fashions.
I'm in solidarity. I'm not going to eat them.
Oh, for the love
Just
of God.
because of you.
Okay, this is my last crunch then of a
Yeah, all
flaming
right.
red hot Cheeto.
I've touched this one,
Okay.
so I'll eat it. But
Down the
that's
hatchet.
it.
Well, things have changed over the decades, and that, I would like to say, is a bit of why I see this as a reunion. You guys first worked together in a movie called One Crazy Summer that came out in 1986.
Yes.
So now that would be 40 years, if I'm doing the math right.
No.
Am I not
Yeah.
doing the math right?
Yeah, I believe
I-
that's right. Because we've
No,
already...
30 years.
30
30
years.
years.
30 years.
Whoops.
We had
I've
the,
only just started.
So you never ask me questions that have math in them. Back when we were young and our hearts were open books.
And we got to work with Savage Steve Holland, who was, you know, he was 2 years older than me, I think, when he was directing One Crazy Summer.
I think he was 25, yeah.
When we first came out, the first couple days, oh, well, we're going to fly you over the island. We're going to have a lobster boil, and I just want you to hang out. And after a couple days of that, it's like, are we going to do anything, Steve? But he was the coolest guy in the world, and it was, you know.
And
pretty nice.
was that your first movie?
It was my first audition for
my
anything
gosh.
professionally, and I flew out to Hyannis for the final audition against Jeremy Piven to play Cusack's best friend, and Piven was Cusack's best friend. And I'm like, there's not a chance in hell I'm going to get this thing. And I guess they didn't see me being the good bad guy's friend, so I got the good guy's friend part. And I was there, and I stayed. I brought an overnight bag, and we were there for like 2 months or something like that. And I had, you know, a pair of underwear and another pair of socks, and that was about it. And so I stole clothes that whole shoot long. Yeah.
That's really funny that you were there for the Jeremy Piven part, because of course he would have been totally wrong for your part.
Well,
And you were absolutely perfect for it. You were you were the guy
You
that
were
people
George
wanted
Clooney.
to be hanging around with. No one would want to hang around with Jeremy Piven.
I remember when I got One Crazy Summer, I called my mother and she wasn't home, and I wanted to call somebody and say I got a part in a movie. You know, I auditioned for this thing, and I'm in a movie, and I have to stay here. And I called my brother Bill, and I get a hold of him, and he's like, "Oh, that's horrible." You know, we always expected so much more. See if you can get out. Seriously, they will suck the life out of you. It's a horrible thing. And all I could think about is he's sitting in like, you know, $20 million mansion on the Hudson River or somewhere, telling me you don't want to be part of this in any way. And I'm like, it's kind of done well by you. And for a few months there, I thought this is the easiest business in the world. And that kind of went away.
Well, I wonder what it's like to have those periods where you don't have anything and you think like, oh God, will it ever come again? And if there's a mantra you tell yourself until the next thing hits.
It is the weirdest business in the world. You know, I'll be out somewhere with my whatever kids sporting event, and I'll be with another father, and so, what do you got coming up next? No idea. I don't
damn
know.
thing.
And they just can't even comprehend that. And well, that's the life. You just have to learn to enjoy your 300 days off a year.
Exactly.
And
Exactly.
or more. And I hope that it's coming. Every day I wake up and go, am I retired? I'm not certain, but
I might be.
and you know.
You also, though, went into directing.
Yeah, that was
And that was brilliant.
smart move.
Because that's something I could never do. I know that I have no ability in that department. And the fact that you were able to pick up on that and make that a second career was really smart.
So if you can do 1 or 2 a year, you know, that's nice. The kids are insured and you can get their teeth pulled or whatever. And
Whether they need them to be or not.
well, yeah, exactly. It's
Just as a
preemptive-
form
If
of
you want to
punishment.
just take advantage, you got the...
preemptive elective extraction.
Exactly.
Yeah, we like to do
Or
that.
grounding. It
Yeah.
could go either way.
The first one I directed, there was a exterior up in Griffith Park, and we rolled a car in the middle of the night and all this stuff with 7 crash cams and all this stuff. And I was like, yeah, I'm in charge. Okay, everybody.
With a budget to boot.
But I got to do a bunch of dramas, and now I did Big Bang Theory, Two Broke Girls, Last Man Standing. I'm trying to get piecework here on shows you're not on. And I asked Jamie Widows, in fact, I said, was there a point where you had to like declare that I'm a director now, I'm not an actor, I just do this and then you get more work? But I've always been one that thought, you know, I do voiceover work, I write, I direct, I act, and I always say if you put enough lines in the water, you'll catch a fish on something.
Well, you joke about maybe not working, but actually you both have had great success later on in your career. Curtis, when I think of right now, you just finished King of the Nerds, so that's no longer on, but New Girl is still airing,
New Girl is still on.
and Supernatural,
Supernatural is still on.
which has huge momentum.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, that was one of those where, 4 years ago, you go for a long stretch of time without any auditions at all, and you begin to think, as you do, well, that's it. I had my run. And then one day, I got 2 auditions, which never happens, where you go in the morning for one, in the afternoon for the other. And the morning one was New Girl, and the afternoon one was Supernatural.
Metatron.
And they both happened, and they have both gone 4 seasons so far.
Incredible.
So that's, that was one of those late in career joys.
And nice, because in a way you're branching out. To my knowledge, you've never played anything like Metatron before.
Oh no, I've never been evil. Never been evil. This has really been a luxury because Metatron is so horrible and
Yeah.
irretrievable. He's inexcusable. He's just the worst.
Yes,
And-
there's no duality there. Maybe a little bit of the
But
light
what there
side
is you have the freedom, I have the freedom because of the way he's written to be funny at the same time that he's doing these horrible things like close the gates of heaven and throwing the angels out and really big stuff, not
Yes,
just
right.
like dining and dashing.
Not just
it's-
pickpocketing, yes.
This is bad stuff and killing people.
the joy in your face there.
Well, it is. It's fun. It's the best kind of part to play.
Because for a long time you were cast, and I guess I'm guilty of it here too, as, on your Twitter feed you also call yourself a nerd. So,
Oh, sure.
in a way
Yeah,
you're
but I mean, I'm not because
stereotyped.
I don't call myself a nerd because I'm always cast as a nerd, although I'm mainly known for that. A lot of what my career was had nothing to do with nerd stuff, but I call myself a nerd because I, Curtis Armstrong, am a nerd. I have nerd qualities, deep nerd qualities. So I am very proud to consider myself a nerd. And I'm also aware of the fact that because of the nerd movies and King of the Nerds, I mean, if I wanted to bury the nerd thing, I would not have created a show called King of the Nerds.
Right.
That's the wrong way to do
Right.
it.
asking. I'm not sure if I'm a nerd or not.
Uh-huh.
I don't have the technical ability at all, but I do nothing with sports, and I often am interested in things that no one else is interested in. So I was hoping you guys would play this little quiz with me, and you can tell me. Joel, just chime in at any
Got my
time.
buzzers. Well, I'm not much of a nerd, but I'll try.
You'll help me out here? Okay, well, you as the official nerd judge, you can let me know. So let me know if any of this makes me a nerd. I like to jog to Barry Manilow.
No.
This does not make me a nerd.
No.
No.
That's like
Okay.
two things that don't fit into the
But
characteristic.
it's wildly unpopular.
Well,
Could It
first
Be
off,
Magic
the
is
thing
my
about
best
nerds,
jogging song.
doesn't matter. The thing that you have to realize about nerds is the only time they run is when they're being chased. And Barry Manilow is something that doesn't enter the nerd universe under any circumstances.
Okay, so they just
That
not
just
even, okay.
write that one right.
Okay, so I'm out. That's
And
okay.
I'm pretty liberal in my definitions of nerd.
Of nerd.
Yeah.
Okay.
Really liberal.
Okay,
The
so
fact that you're jogging was
That was
first one.
right there. I didn't even hear Barry Manilow until later
Okay,
because the
fair
jogging
enough.
just clicked it all.
Okay, I listen to Science Friday, but that's okay because I love Science Friday. But so do a lot of people. That's
Yeah. No. I mean, it doesn't make you not a nerd. It's
Okay,
definitely in your favor.
It's
Okay.
a stepping stone to
It's,
nerd.
it's okay.
Yeah.
It's
I'm
a
working-
gateway
It's a gateway drug to nerdom, exactly.
I'm working my way up. I collect paperweights.
Now we're beginning to get into nerd territory. Is there a paperweight period that you?
I like to do antiques only, and I like to do miniatures only. So a regular paperweight is 3.25 inches, and I like to do
Okay.
mini paperweights, which are 2 inches.
Okay, yeah.
The
That's
fact that you know the inches and
Oh,
the
yes.
measurements on that,
Yes.
I'm going to give you a full nerd point on
Oh,
that.
thank you,
Absolutely.
thank you. And I
Abs-
like between 1845 and 1847.
more and more nerdy.
But I'll go to 1848 or 1849, but I prefer 1845. French, of course.
Wow, of course.
Oh, full,
I wouldn't suggest anything else.
full in nerdom. Okay, I love spiders. I love bugs of all kinds. I love snakes.
Entomology?
Yes, I don't know
fits
that
into-
much about them, but I'm fascinated that they can fly in wind. I'm amazed.
Yeah, I mean, it's a nerd territory, but you want to work on actually knowing something about it.
Okay, that's
I mean, just being fascinated by it is good, but you really want to be able to,
Speak.
talk about.
Okay. Yeah.
in depth.
Okay. I'll brush up.
But that's a good start.
I get very mad when people are pejorative about Dolly Parton. I think she's brilliant, and I can't stand it that people don't see it.
How can you diss Dolly Parton?
I don't know.
She
but
is
people
state of
do.
the art Dolly Parton and always will be state of the art
right.
Dolly
She
Parton.
is so kind. People make fun of her all the time. People don't see her brilliance while she's making millions at the bank.
I've never been anywhere where people made fun of Dolly Parton.
Neither have I. I before I came to LA, I heard about the trash Dolly Parton parties that would happen in some
Back
of the
in Laurel Canyon back in the
yeah,
day.
yeah.
Yeah.
But
wow.
by the time I got here,
That was
I
over.
never came across them.
A lot of those people have died by then.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And eaten by bears because that's
and
what they
spiders.
get for making fun of Dolly Parton.
Mm-hmm.
Let me tell you about this. Dolly Parton is not neither here nor there. The thing about what you said was you get angry when people get pejorative. That is a nerd quality because nerds don't like people who are pejorative about other people because that's not nerdy. Nerds are not
Mean.
judgmental or mean about other nerds. They don't like to see it happen in any way. So that's a good Dolly Parton.
Who's brilliant.
She's
Okay,
brilliant.
Yes.
I
she is.
Yeah.
Dolly
The point is I
Yes.
got it. The judgmental thing.
Okay, excellent. So another one for nerds.
Yeah.
Okay. If I go to a sports game, it's of course only the Chicago Cubs, obviously. And I would only go to Wrigley Field for the sunshine and the peanuts. I don't watch the game.
Oh.
I'm
Well,
sorry.
you might start watching the games this year.
No,
No,
and
I
I'm
can
not going to do that.
understand why you
no.
wouldn't watch the game for a lot of years.
No, hold on, because we said that last year.
Yeah.
And we've said that like every 5 years we say it.
This year's is a whole different thing, but Wrigley Field is the emerald in the middle
It
of
is.
Chicago.
It is.
It's like the best park in the city. You know, Central Park in New York,
Right.
Wrigley Field. And the thing about Wrigley is you're driving in a cab or whatever, you're taking the train, and you're in a residential apartments all over the place, and then all of a sudden it's there, and you're like, holy crap! And there's no parking; it's just there.
Yeah, you
You
walk
got
to
to
it.
get
or
there
you-
by
yeah.
public transportation. I remember taking my kids on a cross-country trip in a Volkswagen van, which I had a few of, and pulling up, and this guy waves me down an alley, and we're on a 3-month trip, by the way. I was on Dharma and Greg. We're taking 3 months, and the guy waves me down the alley. We go down, and I give the guy $20, and we get out and we walk away. And my kids are like, "Dad, what? All of our stuff is in there." And they're like, "No, that's what you do at Wrigley." And sure enough, 4.5 hours later, you come around. The van's been turned around. It's all set, and you go. But there's no parking lot like Dodger Stadium here. It's just residential,
Wow.
and you catch as catch can kind
Yeah,
of
you're basically parking in somebody else's slip.
extra spot.
Yes,
yeah.
right. Yeah.
Yeah.
And they're making $20, which is great.
But that there's not watching the game then was nerd-like. But if you're not watching anymore, you're missing some stuff. So
Really?
that
Yeah.
would-
Okay.
I have to agree. I think on this one you don't get a point.
Okay. Noted. Oh, you're being hardcore. Well, then you're not going to like my last, does this make me a nerd? So last year when the Cubs, this would be October of 2015. It was October. We were talking baseball, so that already was incredible. Everyone was trying to interview some Cubs players at WGN Radio, which is where I do a podcast. And I opted not to interview any players, but to interview the manual scoreboard operator, Daryl Wilson, who still puts manually the runs and hits up there.
Yeah, he's got a nice gig.
Yeah, he's got a great and best seat in the house. But I would go with nerddom there. What do you think?
Absolutely.
Oh, yay.
The word nerd appears in Newsweek magazine, which was doing an article on the jazz sort of hip community in Detroit, Michigan. And nerd had become a popular catchphrase in Detroit, downtown Detroit, for someone who was square. Or, in their word, spaz.
Spaz is a bad word.
Spaz is a bad word.
I remember
But
this.
what they did is, instead of using spaz, they used nerd. I was
smooth.
born in Detroit the next year. So when I was actually born in the city that coined the phrase
phrase.
that I would ultimately be known for. How about that?
Uncanny.
Yeah.
Uncanny.
It's as uncanny as I could manage.
You were born to play this role. you
Apparently,
see?
yeah.
Well, do you have any words of advice for aspiring actors hoping to be typecast for an entire life of acting?
I don't. I really don't. I mean, I think
I'm
about
that
it.
same way. Why give them any advice whatsoever? They're just coming for our jobs.
Exactly.
Screw them. Let them
Exactly.
figure it out
Yeah,
themselves.
yeah, we had to figure it out.
Yeah, nobody
what are we
gave us
handing
any
it?
advice.
Absolutely, the hell with them.
Nobody told you to pull the nerd sword out of some brick in Detroit, you
Right.
know, and the way you did years after your birth. You know, nobody gave
No.
you that. You just did
I
it. You
had
went
to
out and
find
did
that
it.
myself.
Exactly.
Thank you.
I always say you've got to do the work. Do the work, Don. I said on Mad Men, but I used to improvise 6 nights a week and hitchhike out to a house I was painting in Oak Brook, Illinois. And if you look at the spot I used to hitchhike at 2, 3 in the morning, people are like, "No way!" No, I used to hitchhike right there between the on-ramp and the highway, so people could stop for me, and hitchhike out there, and then come back, wake up soaking wet, sweating on the 3rd floor, paint for a few hours, and then hitchhike back into Chicago and improvise for free again. We had like one gig where we made maybe $14 or something like that, but did it every night. And you know, the Outliers, you're familiar with that book? You
Oh,
have
yeah.
to you have to
The-
put in like 10,000 hours
10,000
at something.
hours, yeah.
And today's kids, they think, well, if I pay for this class at UCB and I get to level 7, then I should then go to a sitcom.
Wait a minute.
It's like,
Level
no.
7, that's Scientology.
Yeah,
isn't it?
well, right. When you're clear, you should get a sitcom. And somehow that works.
It actually does.
But I think people are missing it. The amount of work you got to do to get certain chops to be in comedy, at least. I don't know.
Well, I think I think it's true of everything. I think it's
Stage time, I always say. It's all about stage time.
Yeah.
There's no way around the work.
I did a show once. This was like in the early 90s. I went in and did a guest spot on a show. And at that point, I'd been doing a lot of stuff over a long period of time. And I was talking to an actor, and he said, you know, so what are you doing now? The what are you doing now question. And I said, you know, the usual, and some garbage and this and that, you know, very much denigrating what I was doing, whatever it was. I don't even remember at the time. And he was listening to me sort of like this, and he finally said, you know, you have a career that a lot of guys my age would give anything to have. And it was like a slap in the face, and I realized I had been trashing myself. I had never thought of career, the word career, as having anything to do with me by that time.
Oh my word.
Because all I was doing was going from job to job. I wasn't looking back and saying, okay, it's now, 15 years, I have a career. Careers were something you had when you were, retiring and you get to watch. It was not what I had in 1992, But I looked back and I went, he's right. And it changed, that guy changed my entire
perspective.
The perspective of how I look at myself.
And that's actually very lucky that you ran into that person, because that change of your mind shift probably affected your career.
Yeah, I think it probably did.
Yeah. You were saying when we were walking into the Sunset Marquee that Brian, so I think people probably most know you for your brother Bill, but also Brian, who wrote Caddyshack and many other movies, he has a nice history with the Sunset Marquee.
Oh, this used to be Brian's favorite hotel. He used to stay here quite a bit, and I think he and Harold Ramis wrote some of Club Paradise here, and it was a very cool place to stay in the late '80s. Still is, and well, it's back again. And I stayed here when I came out when I worked on Scrooged, and I had some Second City buddies that showed up at my hotel room that night and drank everything in my mini fridge, just the way you do to your buddies doing well that day. So you drain him for like $550 or something like that.
Of peanuts, basically.
But it was always a cool hotel, and that little bar in the lobby was the Whiskey right after that. And it was this place where rock stars and George Clooney and all these people used to hang out. And it was, the bar was as long as from you to me, and it would spill out into the lobby, and I think a lot of the guests didn't appreciate it, but it was a hipster spot to be for a while. The key rooms were to get the ones that faced the pool, because there was rock stars' girlfriends at the pool.
Much better than rock stars. Rock stars' girlfriends.
You don't want rock stars in bathing
suits. They come and go, but
don't
the
look
girlfriends.
Well, speaking of girlfriends, I'll just say
Wait
that
a minute.
you've been married for 22 years, Curtis, and you've been married, Joel, for 27.
Yeah.
So I would like to ask you two, I didn't think I'd be asking for marriage advice here, but I'd like to ask you two, what is the secret to longevity in your marriage?
I always say, just admit it, you're wrong.
And stupid.
It'll just save time. You're wrong, and you're sorry.
And you're not very bright.
I had a senile guy who used to live across from my old house. Just great guy, and he was always doing yard work, and he'd come over and he'd tell the exact same story every time. I always get the last word in my house. Yes, dear. And he would walk across the street and come back like 7 minutes later. I always get the last word in my house. Yes, dear. I'm like, that works for you. But it was solid advice from a guy that had a mental capacity of an inch and a half.
Well, before we end this great dinner, so thank you for coming today, and I have a great gift bag for you filled with Wances tequila and some wine and Voss water and stove cookware.
I hope I make it home.
Favorite snack on set? What is the first thing you go for when you're on set and you need something fast and quick? Favorite snack?
Oh, the individual bag trail mixes that have a little bit of M&Ms in them too. That's
just enough M&M.
That's kind of go-to, yeah. Sometimes my son actually takes out some of the M&Ms
yes.
because it's too sweet, but
He can give them to me. That's fine.
But that's a go-to.
Ceramic, so relatively healthy. Good for you.
Except for the sugar and the sodium.
Yeah. Right.
But
Right. We won't look at that. Curtis, favorite snack?
I wish I had something more interesting. Nuts.
Yeah, so good for
Just
you.
nuts.
Yeah.
I mean, like, peanuts or
I'm almonds all
Almonds.
day long.
Almonds.
Really?
Yeah.
I like pistachio nuts, but there's so much work.
That's a lot. You're
That's a
burning
lot.
calories. That's like,
Yes.
you know.
And it's the peanuts that get me to Wrigley Field, so I know what you mean about nuts.
yes.
Well, thank you both so much for joining me today, and cheers on bringing you back together.
Oh, okay. Yes, thank you so much.
Somebody had more of their drink than others.
Might that be you, Joel?
I'm
well.
going
All right, dinner party, take one.
to. God, oh, Mike, that was really
We
loud.
tried to warn you.
25th anniversary screening of One Crazy Summer at Cinephilia.
Cinephilia.
Cinephilia is like
kinda
it's
touchy.
yeah, that's
That's,
not where you.
That could go wrong in a million ways.
All right, dinner party, take three.
All right. Let me know when you're ready, people, and I'll start talking Cheetos. All
She's
your
20.
kids are older, so
Yeah.
still in college.
Yeah, still in college.
Do you still
Do
have
you
kids
just have
in
the
college?
one?
I have one.
I have 4. So if you need an extra.
Yes, I was married for 7 years originally. Very amicable divorce.
Oh, nice.
And
Do you have
then-
any advice on how to get rid of a wife?
Well,
This will not go well for you, Joel.
yeah.
Mother of Jesus, take 5. Here we go.